Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's The Beautiful Bag podcast. I am here with a special guest, Nina Hayes. We met on Instagram. Guys, I'm always telling you, go back to Instagram. If you really want to meet people and get to know people, there are great Facebook groups, but Instagram, just hashtag Ostomy, and you'll find a world of people out there that are in the situation that you're in, or maybe might be heading into that you can kind of create a community around. Nina has had her ostomy. Well, you know what? I'm going to let her tell her story, but she is absolutely amazing. Yoga, meditates, nutritionist, you name it, she's got it. And we can talk everything. We're going to talk everything about health, working out, women empowerment, getting your mind right. I think that's a big one that we're going to get into as well. So, Nina, welcome to the show.
Thank you, LeeAnne. I'll try to condense my story because sometimes I feel like the story is less important compared to where we are right now. So I had my colon removed in 2002, originally for something called colonic inertia. Essentially, my colon just broke quite suddenly. So it resulted in, chronic small bowel obstructions and just in and out of the ER, sometimes twice weekly. That path resulted in 20-something major surgeries to try to, bypass and loops and temporary ileostomies. And ultimately, I had the permanent ileostomy in 2016. And it's been a long road, but a road full of not just lessons with the ostomy, but really lessons on how to live in challenging times of uncertainty and just really learning to kind of practice balance, even though life is always in flux. So I come from a background in yoga and, meditation, and really my ostomy has kind of been my unrequested guru.
I love that. Unrequested guru. Now, can you explain to us why you think that way?
Well, in Sanskrit, which is kind of the language of yoga, the guru, you could a lot of people think of it, as a person, maybe like a man in robes or something like that. But many people may know, a guru is really something that removes obstacles or, shows you the light through darkness often. So it can be an entity, it can be a lesson. So this for me was a hard way to learn how to kind of see the light through difficult times. So it's my teacher.
I love that, because a lot of people that have been on the podcast think of it as a blessing, right? It's a blessing. It's your guru. You're not the same person you were prior to that you are now after, right? Because I'm assuming from 2002 till 2016 with your colon removed and multiple surgeries and all of that must have been a struggle to go through, and then to get on the other side of it. And now you're in your ostomy and you're calling it your guru. It's your life lesson, right? So I love that. I love that. Now let's talk about that, because you're a nutritionist. You teach and study yoga and meditation. Let's walk through that, because a lot of the listeners they always ask about working out and moving your body and doing the right thing so that you don't hurt yourself. So why don't we talk about some of the practices that you do?
Yeah, I would say on so many levels, I feel like everyone needs a movement practice, but especially those with ostomies or digestive illnesses. And it's two reasons, minimum two. Physically, if you've had the surgeries like we've had, often there's like a shortening of the muscles, and the fascia can often get like stuck to the abdominal wall. And we all know the, adhesions we all kind of fear and have to deal with. So yoga is really like, I'm like touching my abdomen as I talk, because I can feel it. Yoga is really a gentle way, when done properly and mindfully with a good teacher who knows, you can stretch out those adhesions and it helps with pain. Prior to, like, after some of my surgeries, before I was able to resume my yoga, my posture was suffering because my abdomen was so like short from the adhesions and the stitches that I couldn't stand up straight. But over time, with practice, I was able to kind of stretch that whole area out and just improve my posture, which also just improved my self-esteem because I was suddenly able to open my chest and open my heart. So on that level, it really helps, especially the twists we do in yoga. They massage the organs of digestion and assimilation, and they can, if anyone like me has the motility issues, or people that have like constipation or diarrhea and that alternating pattern, the twists can really like balance the intestines and the peristalsis of the intestines. So physiologically, I can't say enough. Also, mood-wise, it's hard to adjust. I mean, we all know it's not easy. Inversions, headstands, or even like the downward facing dog pose, that really, I call it like my natural Prozac. It bathes your brain in blood. It's going to send all the neurotransmitters to your brain, balance the hormones. So on a recovery level, I feel like that has been like a major part of my daily practice. I could go on about, the physiological benefits, but also some of the more, I want to say, like less known benefits. And those would be the trauma in the body from, the cutting of the body. The cells remember, they have a memory. So some of that trauma or the stored pain may be from before a surgery, when people were suffering with bleeding or inflammation from some of these digestive disorders. That's really stored. And through yoga, you can calm the nervous system. It can go from that fight, or flee response into the parasympathetic, which is like often called the rest and digest. And that's what we all need. So through the restorative yoga practices, that can be addressed. Through some deep breathing, that can be addressed. I mean, I really I don't think I could have personally healed without these practices.
You put a lot there. There was a lot in that. I lift weights and run and do all the crazy stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And lately, just about a little over a month ago, and I used to do yoga all the time, and I meditate. I used to meditate 20 minutes a day, twice a day, forever and ever, even after my ostomy. And it's been put on the back burner, and I know I know I have that feeling like, come on, what are you doing? Like, come on, come back to the practice, because it just settles you. And I want to talk to you about meditation too. But you said a lot of things. So the last month I just started doing yoga again, and things are starting to move around. Now, adhesions, a lot of people going into surgery don't realize that we can get adhesions after, which can cause blockages when they get wrapped around intestines or get stuck. So I loved what you said about doing some of these yoga practices and the twists and everything else. That can help alleviate that and stretch them out.
Yeah, I mean, it can not only alleviate and stretch them out, but it can prevent additional surgeries. Because as I mentioned, I had over 20. So there was a point when my surgeon could go in and try to free some of those up, but the risk is always making the problem worse. Mm-hmm. So I love my surgeon to death, but I realize, there's a limit. There's a responsibility we have to take as individuals and do what we can, and not outsource that to doctors, because there's only so much that, the surgeons can do. So I did it diligently. I was determined. I was like, I will stretch these adhesions out myself. I don't want to go in for another surgery. So it's well worth the effort.
Well, now you've got me. I've been going to yoga 1 to 2 times a week now, adding it in. Mm-hmm. Now I'm like, okay, I need to add it in more. I need to do it a little bit more. You're making me say, okay, I need to do that.
Well, to anyone listening, I always suggest make it a habit. I would recommend starting daily 10 minutes a day, as opposed to like once or twice a week for an hour or 60 minutes. Just get that daily practice in. and then you can gradually, build up. And I think once you feel the benefit, people will stick with it. And it doesn't need to be extreme. I think a lot of people know hot yoga, which is great, but it's more of an intense kind of like yang style. There's really a yoga practice for everyone, even in the hospital. Very simple things that can be done in a hospital bed even.
See, that's awesome. And I'm going to make sure everybody gets your handles after this so they can reach out to you and get some more advice from you. So we talked yoga, and I think going into yoga now, do you practice by yourself? Do you do full on yoga classes?
Both. I practice, well, with COVID, I've been practicing a lot by myself, but I love practicing, within a group. The group energy is different just with any activity. When it's a team sport, it's different than, doing it on your own. So I love that group energy. I also, I lead retreats. I do workshops. I've taught yoga literally around the world. And I've taken other people's retreats around the world before and with an ostomy.
Let's talk about that, because I know personally from my fear, and other people have said this as well, and I had to get over it, were you ever concerned when you were with a group? Because yoga's quiet. Yoga is a quiet practice, right? It's a lot of breathing. Were you ever worried or concerned about, your ostomy making noises or gurgling or interrupting people when they were, in Savasana? I know that those are some of the concerns that I've always had.
Yeah, I was petrified. I'll be honest. I was absolutely freaking petrified. A few things. If your ostomy is new, others may have noticed this. When I first got my ostomy, it was so loud, extremely loud. It has quieted down. I don't know, it's like a puppy. Like it's just like really crazy at first. It's quieted down. Yeah, I was nervous about that. But some tips for that, I would say, a lot of people are so into themselves. I mean, this is kind of life advice, that they don't notice you. We're all thinking that everyone is like so in our lives, like gonna notice every noise, or maybe even see the ostomy full. Most people don't really care because they're so obsessed with their own practice or their own life or their own whatever. So that's one thing. If you're really freaked out, at least to ease into the class, you could start with a class that with music. A lot of vinyasa styles, they play music. And so you can go to, maybe you don't want to go to the class that's going to be silent because it might just make you nervous. Another thing is I usually set up at the back of the class, if you're doing a group class, near the door, because I know that I'm going to have to leave class at least once. I have a lot of output. So I just set up at the end of class, the back of class. And then also sometimes just telling someone takes the edge off. So I would go up to the teacher and just say, I have an ostomy. They may or may not know what it is. You could kind of just quickly tell them and just say, I might need to leave class, so I just don't want you to think anything is wrong.
That's good. That's great advice. That is absolutely beautiful advice.
I mean, I usually tell that even in meetings, because I don't want to appear like rude or uninterested. So I'll just, quickly tell. Then I've had issues, but you deal with it. I think I've had leaks when I was teaching yoga, and I've had leaks when I was practicing, especially like when you're doing like a handstand like that. Sometimes it just wants to leak at that point. But just bring it extra change of clothes just in case. The benefit is worth the risk. I mean, things are going to happen, but you can't live in a bubble. Like you can't avoid quiet places. I did that for a while. It became very challenging and not worth it myself in that way.
No, and you're right, you can't. And I think a lot of things, especially this last year and a half, we've all realized we need people. We need to be around people. That's why we're on this earth. We can't live alone, closed up. And
even with the noise thing, one other thing, I've taught yoga. I've been teaching yoga since 2009. And so many people without ostomies, like past guests in class. And like, it's just because your bodies are moving and you're getting out all the junk. So like, quote, normal people do it all the time. And I mean, no one really cares. Someone might giggle, but whatever. That's about it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's fun. That, and you're right. That is great. That is good, right? Because it does happen. I mean, I remember doing yoga prior to And I was like, it was quiet ones, but I was just like, "Ooh, boy."
It happens all the time, like all the time.
Yep. So now let's talk about food, because you're a nutritionist, you've gone to school. Now, do you practice vegan? Because a lot of people are afraid of eating a lot of vegetables, right? And it causing blockages and things like that. Now, I know you are very in tune with your body, but let's talk about nutrition for a little.
Yeah, that's my other passion. I am vegan, mostly vegan. Occasionally, I will have like, eggs and, things like that, but mostly vegan. That's in part a health decision, also kind of an ethical choice I made. In terms of people with ostomies, I would say because we have this extreme challenge, I wouldn't be so hard on yourself. Like if you ideally want to be vegan, but from an ethical point, but if you just can't, like that's okay too, because we have like a lot of challenges. So I think for our group, you have to be a bit like kind with yourself. I really coach my clients on intuitive eating, which takes a while to cultivate. It is a lot of trial and error, but ultimately only you know what's going to work best for your body. I guess I could give some general tips. I think for people with ostomies, I would say starting vegetables are great, especially for our general nutrition. I usually do cold pressed juices, green juices, or pureed soups. Personally, like I've had so many surgeries, so I can't do any vegetables unless they're like in a pureed state.
Right. A lot of us have that, right? Like I can't touch kale. I made the mistake of having a kale salad and paid the price for an entire night and called my doctor before I finally got it up. And she's like, "You should have just went to the emergency room. Please don't do that."
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the hard thing about it is it's not an immediate response, right? So normally if you eat something like, even if you're lactose intolerant, you eat cheese and then you're immediately having horrible stomach cramps. So you're like, your brain learns like, oh, you can't eat that. But with something like the kale, you feel fine when you're eating it. You feel fine 3 hours later. It might be like at the 6 hour mark where you're like totally obstructed. So it's a little bit harder to get that connection. But I guess I would say, I feel like I'm on a tangent here, but I guess I would say I wouldn't avoid vegetables, but see if there's a safer form. I also, I have like a fine mesh strainer. I actually got a little one because I travel a lot. So I pack it in my suitcase because sometimes I'll get like a soup, even at like Whole Foods or something. And I just pass it through a sieve and I take out like the big chunky bits and then I enjoy the rest. Or I travel with a bullet, a magic bullet. And you can kind of put anything in that to make it more digestible.
That's great advice. That is absolutely great advice. Like you said, soups or juices or smoothies. And I need to shut a window because somebody all of a sudden decided to construct. Yeah, they're all of a sudden the jackhammers are going out my window and I don't know why.
I didn't even hear it.
Well, that's good. I didn't want it to catch everybody else. Sorry. So we're back. But yeah, no, that's great advice about juices and bringing your blender with you. And you try. All right, now we're going to talk about traveling because you travel a lot. But those are great tips for people that want to say, you know what, I want to put more vegetables in. I want to make sure I'm getting the right nutrition. But before we get into traveling, you started talking about intuitive eating. And some people may not know what that is. So can you explain that?
Yeah, let me see if I can make it succinct. Well, if anyone actually, I think my Instagram will be in the show notes. I have a guide on intuitive eating, a free guide I would love to share if anyone wants to delve into it. But it's basically trusting your body and tuning in with what it wants in terms of hunger, when you're hungry, and what you need to eat. You can get quite specific when you practice it. Like you'll start to notice, oh, I think I'm missing certain vitamins because I'm craving this food. It's just really tuning in. Sometimes I'll pick up a food and I just like feel it. I'm like, wait, does my body want this food or this food? I just like hold it. And there's like a certain energy transmitted, and then you don't have to outsource your I guess that's one of kind of part of my ethos is I want to show people that they have the wisdom within, and they don't have to outsource to, nutritionists. Like as a nutritionist, my ultimate goal is that you won't need me. So that's why I teach intuitive eating, because as we know, there's always a trend. It's keto, it's vegan, it's paleo. I mean, all of those have their merits, but at the end of the day, we have different physiologies. So unless we want to be at the mercy of trends and information overload, we just have to go within. As you develop your intuition, you might need to take like lots of notes and things like that, but then it will become effortless, and it's so freeing when you don't have to you can just trust yourself, not anyone else.
Yeah, those are great tips. I remember going through cancer. When I was going through cancer, I did a lot of intuitive. Like I would hold everything that I held to put into my body, no matter what it was, whether I was craving it or not, or it was just put in front of me, or I looked at the menu and said, I'll just get this because I've done fitness competitions forever and I lift heavy. So it's, I used to eat a ton of meat and stuff like that. And I would hold it up to my body, and I would have an energetic pull to it or a push. Like if you got quiet enough to listen, even a glass of wine, I'm like, do you really want this glass of wine right now? And I just take a few seconds and take a couple of breaths. And if it pulled towards me, I would have it. If it pushed away from me, I wouldn't have it. I'm like, no, really, we don't want that right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I probably look a bit wacky at the grocery store, but like I pick up the vegetables and yeah, I just kind of hold them. And like you said, even with a glass of wine, because I like to enjoy wine in moderation. And sometimes I've gotten in phases of my life where it's just a habit, like coming home, I'm going to go grab a glass of wine. And then I was like, wait, I need to like you said, stop. Do I actually want this? And sometimes it's like, no, I just did it out of habitual action.
And it's a great way, even for people not in ostomies, to kind of say, hold on a second, let me put myself back. Let's take a second.
Well, that's kind of why, as you said at the beginning, this is kind of a blessing. Other people have the luxury to live with blinders on. We have more sensitivities because of the ostomy, that it's actually a gift, because we have that capacity to like examine things.
Yeah, we definitely do. And we do have to take a minute. It's like, kale was big craze, and there's great vitamins in kale, but it's like, can I eat this? Maybe I blend it, maybe I juice it, whatever it is. But even from healthy food to non-healthy food, it's like we spend a little more time thinking, can I process it? Does this go in? So you're right, it is actually a blessing. So let's get into traveling, because you travel a ton. Yeah. What's that like making sure you have your supplies and where you're going and all of that?
Yeah, traveling, I would say prior to traveling, I usually the day before, if it's a long flight, I would usually do like a juice fast. So, because I don't want to have any cramps on the plane or any issues. That's kind of typically what I do, or eat quite light. In terms of packing, always pack extra supplies in your carry-on in case your luggage gets lost and you end up in like, Mexico with nothing, so that's important. I always sit on the aisle seat in case I need to get up quickly. What other travel tips? Because mine might be quite specific, because I do have the motility issues. I don't eat on the flight because I find at that altitude, it's very hard to digest and assimilate food. So I would eat, plan a nice dinner for when I arrive at a destination. Drink lots of water, because, the airplane is dehydrating for everyone, but especially if you, with ostomy, sometimes you can have a tendency to get dehydrated more easily. What else? Those are kind of my main tips. Yeah.
Yeah, those are great tips, because I'll tell you, I went to Florida one time, packed everything, or I thought I packed everything, left. We were going on a 7-day cruise. I got off the plane in Florida and realized I didn't pack. I had one replacement bag in my purse. I forgot to pack any of my supplies. And we had one night in Florida, and we were getting on the boat at 4:00 the next afternoon. So I was in a panic. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? Like, what do you do? And so I texted my doctor, and he goes, you can go to the hospital, and the hospital can give you some extra supplies if there's a local hospital. So guys, just know that as a little tip. If you get stuck, hospitals have extra supplies. You can grab some there. but I actually overnighted. Amazon overnighted. Amazon carries supplies too. I always go through insurance, but Amazon carries supplies. I went through Amazon and had them overnight what I needed just to get me through the week.
Yeah, those are amazing tips. I've had to do the same. Also, yeah, going to the hospital and also medical supply stores when you're in a pinch. If you Google a medical supply, I've had to do that in other countries as well.
Yeah. See, and so so there's always a way. There's always a way for you to get what you need is I think what we're trying to get at. So not to be afraid to travel, because you travel, you go Mexico, you go all over the world.
Yeah, I live right now between LA and Tulum, Mexico, and then I do yoga retreats in Bali.
All right. So Bali's on my bucket list, and so is Tulum. So
Then we connected.
they're both on my bucket list, and I've been dying to get there. So yeah, we'll definitely have to plan something. I'll have to make sure I get on one of your retreats.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be so awesome. So Nina, this has been amazing. You have given everybody some great tips. I have two questions for you. So one, where can everybody, if they want to find you, where is the best place for them to go and find you?
I have two Instagram accounts. One is kind of goes really deep into the yoga and meditation. That's at Nina Hayes Mission, NINAHAYES, the word mission. And then the ostomy specific Instagram is at Blossom Ostomy, just at symbol Blossom Ostomy. And then that one, people can learn about, I do a 12-week transformational program for women with ostomies. And then I offer private ostomy coaching for men and women, and just helping them integrate more of the mindfulness, the yoga, nutrition, self-care, mindset. So yeah, it's all in there.
I love it. I love it. Now, last question. If you were to leave the listeners with one thing, what would that one thing be?
Your vulnerability is your greatest strength.
That just hit my heart. Oh, Nina, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, LeeAnne. This has been fun. Thank you for listening, everyone.